Hey everyone, this is Brian Trautschold. I'm the co-founder of Ambition.com, and I'm thrilled to be joined early this morning on the West Coast by my friend Craig Rosenberg, co-founder at TOPO. TOPO is an amazing resource for the entire sales community. Good morning, Craig. How you doing, man?
Good morning. First of all, let's be clear. I'm eating dinner right now. This is morning for me. I'm just kidding.
You're far into your day.
Yeah, I love that. You know, the guys who are big time, oh, well, Craig, I've been on calls with ... globally for the last 3 hours. It's not early for me.
We have a little weird culture thing going on right now where like the people doing like their 4 a.m. workouts and stuff. I'm like, during the pandemic, like I'm not getting up early. Like I'm like whatever time my kids wake up is when I'm waking up.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to point out this morning, at the tip of the day is, I've realized during the pandemic, it is pretty amazing to get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
I don't have to get in a car. I don't got to do anything like that. My kids have been, the schedule in terms of their homeschool is on ours. So it's like, oh, this is pretty cool. You know what I mean? So you wake up, you're ready to go. You're not quite as tired throughout the day, even though life is as crazy as it's ever been. So anyway, yeah, I mean, I'm excited to be here.
But I mean, you like me, I mean, we normally see each other in like weird places, San Diego, Chicago, wherever. Like I haven't been on a flight since the first week of March. It's crazy.
That's right. I mean, I'm like very concerned about my mileage numbers here. I mean, my upgrades have been amazing for the last couple of years, and it's going down.
Like,
yeah, no.
I don't know that I can fly if I'm not welcome in the Sky Club. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna go to
there. Exactly. No, you know, that is, you know, the circuit is down, right? And you know, so I mean, that affects guys like us who that's where we see each other and trade ideas and those things. It's part of the change that happened in doing business, though. You know, there was the live engagement around the circuit was part of how you generated demand, and so that, you know, that's been one of the things that's, you know, gone away, or people are trying to recreate and things like this, you know. So
well, that's a perfect segue for us, because I agree, and what we're trying to do with this, and I want to launch right into it, is share the ideas that we would have been talking about at, you know, Unleash or at Sales Loft's event or at AISP of what sales managers can be doing. Those things aren't happening. So let me jump in. And you've been a sales leader for a number of years. You still are talking to some of the biggest companies in the world of how they can adjust and adapt to their sales process and their management style right now. You know, for the folks watching this on YouTube or LinkedIn, you know, what can they be doing to re-energize, re-engage, coach their team through, in my career, an unprecedented time?
Don't worry. I know you're young. Don't worry. This is unprecedented. Yeah.
That was mine. I don't know. I didn't want to speak for you.
I appreciate that, actually. I mean, look, I saw, you know, 2000, 2001, you know, by the way, tech had a huge dip in, I think, 98 that people don't talk about as much. It wasn't as crazy as everything. You know, the nuclear winter, 2008, these things, this is different, right? Like, there's so much social and business and health and chaos. And so it is different, man. The history, I don't know what we're going to write on this thing, but, you know, I will just say that what I've been impressed with, I think, goes with what you're talking about. So I'm going to talk about that in a sec. The first thing is, you know, we believe that there's 3 phases here in the crisis. And so one is stabilize. That was the last couple months, right? We were holding, you know, you basically, I don't know, you could have any image you want. For me, it's like in the movies where like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible is holding onto the train. I don't know what it is. He loves holding onto trains and the wind blowing in his face, but you're, you know, it's really, you're trying to make every decision you can, and they're emergency decisions to keep things going. And I think now we're in what we're calling reinvent, which is the great reset just happened, right? And it's happening. It still is. It's still chaotic, but people are using this moment in time to reinvent. They're doing it to reinvent themselves. Like, you know, I have a Peloton now. We're just talking about 4 a.m. workouts. I don't do 4 a.m. workouts, but you're good on that one. But, you know, there's a, you know, social and just heart-wrenching issues aside, which is hard to do. But let's put it in business context. This is a reinvention phase for many folks. So when we talk about a couple things that people are doing, not just these are things that sort of came from the survival phase and are now moving into the reinvention phase. So number one is what you and I were just talking about. Who you sell to and who you continue to sell to is as important as ever before, because you have basically, if you took your target market, you have segments of your target market that have zero buying activity. Then you have segments of your target market that are what we call pockets of opportunity. We're just talking about where there's lots of opportunity, but there's only all in and fold. There's no checks and calls. That's important. So you have to make really good decisions with your team on who you sell to. That's important. And how you sell is second. You know, your buyer's definition of value reset. So you had to reset. But remember, the most important thing is how people buy and who your buyer is reset. People were living off the same buyer persona for 4 or 5 years. That's done. Like all the things that are happening, we had to figure out how to go sell to them. And now you get to the coaching thing, because we had to switch messaging. So we did a poll. 99% said they changed messaging. That means it's a dumb question, right? Because basically everyone did. So now what do you do, right? You know, you don't just have to keep people, you got to keep people effective. One thing I will say as we move into sort of talking about coaching, everyone always wanted to do coaching. Everyone believed, yeah, they believe in the value of it. I mean, it'd be great. You know what? You meet a sales leader and they'd say, of course we want to coach more. The issue was time, scale, resources, right? It was just hard. I know this. I mean, right? I mean, it was just hard. The other thing is we had 8 years of a bull market, and everything works in a bull market, everything. So you don't have to change. Now we have to change, and it's great because we always wanted a coach, and now we have automation. You know, I'm not one of those guys that goes, oh, automation, everything, but I am in certain things, in coaching to be able to automate that and scale that has helped people a lot. And the thing I think that's really important is we're doing a messaging reset. We're doing a buyer reset. Everyone needs help. And we're away from all of our workers are working from home. So we have to engage with them at scale and coach them up at scale. And one of the things that I find talking to regional managers, I got to get your opinion on this. There's a really human thing here. I actually think that people didn't realize that their guys, they might've been they like it when they're coached. It's actually, right? I mean, I'm talking to a regional manager, it's amazing. It's actually the best moments we have together.
Very few people, well, I don't know that anyone doesn't want to be better. It's uncomfortable to sometimes do the things. It's uncomfortable to try to be better. Like, it's uncomfortable to probably get on the Peloton for, I don't know, 30, 45 minutes, but like 15 minutes afterward, like, that was great. That was great. It was worthwhile. I feel better now.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right. Like, one of the things that you said that I think is interesting with this reset, which I believe is applicable to almost anyone who's not been working in their office the whole time or whatever, it's changed all of the relationships. And all the relationships had just weird, built up, habitual stuff. And it's like you're coaching because you walk by someone in the office and you say, hey, Craig, how you doing? Yeah. Good. Okay, cool. Like, Craig's good. I'm done. I'm off to my next thing. I checked that box. Well, like, that doesn't work on Zoom and with like a calendar invite, and all of those things are adapting. And I think that it's really interesting that everyone has to consciously like think about, what does it look like to actually coach Craig when I don't see him by the coffee pot or whatever the thing is before.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? I was talking to a SDR leader, and she was like, I just didn't even realize that I was doing stuff, but sitting next to each other was part of their enablement. It was part of their motivation. It was part of
Yeah.
what they did. And when I moved them to home, I just thought it would be easier for us, right? We're
Right.
already digital, et cetera. And they forgot that. And yeah, it's so true. And we have to recreate those experiences. Um, I actually think though, this is what we're saying is, there's new experiences. I mean, let's face it, you're in the coaching, coach 'em up business. There
Yeah.
wasn't any. So now we're actually doing it from a manager to rep. It's going to solidify they're having not life-changing experiences, but relationship-changing experiences with their reps. And so it's not just, it's a great thing for the world. We're going to sell better as a result. We're going to have tighter relationships. And so that's part of the thing, man. We had to change a lot of stuff. We're going to keep a lot of these things going forward. Like I said, I'm old. Everyone's always wanted to coach more. They always did. They always did. Now it's like force them to go reevaluate how they do it. And they bring in tech, they bring in process, and they realize the value of it. When we go forward, we are going to be better. That is the thing. I'm not one of those happy-go-lucky, but I do believe that. I do believe that business coming out of this, is going to be better, because culture, which I used to tease Dan Gottlieb, our senior sales analyst, about, he was right. Culture it has been incredible watching guys like you who run businesses who are in the face of holding onto the train, but still wanting to maintain culture. And culture is what is going to get them through this. And coaching is part of culture. That's like the improvement. And that, these are the things that we're going to keep and move forward with. And it's going to make us better businesses. It's going to be better for buyers. It's going to be better for sellers,
I appreciate what you just said there. I think that one of the things that is easy to forget when we're, hair on fire, and how do I get my SDRs to make calls when they're at home or whatever, or they're in their apartment, but it's what matters for the buyer. And to your point about the bull market, so many of these companies, and put it on ourselves, we forgot what it was like to be a buyer, and to just, it was all working. It was working to shoot someone an email and be like, hey Craig, I just want to check in on your initiatives. That email is deleted now. No one gives a shit about that email right now. It's you better be bringing me value. You better be solving a pain that I distinctly have. Maybe I want to flip it back to you. You're talking about the changing of messaging and then creating coaching around it. Do you have anything, tips or kind of ideas that you can share as far as how people can implement that change?
You mean around changes to how they should message, or how they should
Coaching buyers. I think you guys have such a good insight to the buyers and the big type of organizations that folks want to be talking to. And I think a lot of younger salespeople, they're just used to picking up the phone and you call and someone answers, right? It's that's not going to be as easy as it used to be.
No, I know. Yeah. Well, first of all, I think you nailed it. This is when we're talking about things are going to be better for the set sales. They are the reset was important. And as I said, in bull markets, everything works. You can ask anybody that. The Wall Street guys will say that, you can, it's just that's kind of how it is. So and now we're put to the test. And someone said to me, well, this is where the good sales guys, or great salespeople, succeed. And I said, well, actually, for us to succeed, this is when the great sales organizations succeed.
I like that.
Because you can't make it off. There's one Michael Jordan. I tell people this all the time. You have 10% super freaks, and those are the super freaks. You get some credit for getting them into your organization. But if you don't have that next 40%, 50%, 60%, 70%, at least playing the game right, then you're in trouble. And so, the first thing you got to do is your buyer's definition of value just changed. And so you talk about coaching, we have to find the value for the buyer today. So we're going to redo our buyer personas, and we're going to look, what are the challenges they face today? It's incredible. It's woe is me. I got sales reps at home. Guess what? Your buyer does too.
Yeah.
They're running IT infrastructure organizations from home. Like, I mean, think about it. It's hard. And what do they have to do to go do that? And we got to go figure that out. The second thing that's really important is people buy to support mission critical priorities. There is no such thing as a longer sales cycle right now. That's what everyone's telling me. Oh, well, it's a longer sales cycle. I said, no, that means you have no deal. Because right now, everyone's solving for the next 6 to 9 in big companies. Mm-hmm. So you have to find the mission critical priority. You have to talk to it, and you have to be able to support that priority. Now, all the guys with gray hair like me say, well, it's always been like that, and that you and I both know it's not true. We would throw up a demo, we'd get a deal, and then someone on the side would be like, this is a great idea. I'm going to go try to get budget. The CFO signs off on the deal now. So you got to sell. Yeah. I mean, like, so as you said, we have to present value. So that means a couple things. So one of the big changes is we have to figure out what people want to talk about. That's your first sales call. Okay. So, we have, plenty of customers that, let's say they're vertically focused or in the construction industry. They don't want to talk about construction software, right? They had to shut down multiple projects. Some of them can't get their workers to work. They won't go, right? And so that's what we want to talk about. Let's give them ideas, 5 or 6 ideas on what people are doing to solve, the current construction. Let's go talk about what we're seeing. Something akin to a value to them as a buyer in the market is your first sales call. Okay, so now let's just do that, right? That's hard to figure out. It's hard to deliver. You can't just give people a deck and throw them out there and go do that. And the reality is to do that, you got to coach them up. So you're going to stand them up, you're going to enable them, but then you got to let them go do it, and you got to listen to them, and you got to coach them up, and you got to manage it, you got to monitor it. It's actually scary. What we've learned is when people change that first call, for even veteran sales reps are afraid to go do it. Oh, yeah. So how to hold them accountable to go do that?
I want to jump in there. I know we're going to run short on time, but like one of the things I've heard, and I'm curious if you've heard it, is people are doing more team and individual interaction, coaching, whatever you want to call it. But like I've heard about some teams doing these daily stand-ups during lunch.
Oh, so, yeah, process, yes.
You take that new first call and you say, hey, call this construction company, give them some ideas. Don't just you can't be on the qualification call mode anymore where you're like, do you have budget? Do you have this? Do you use this? Like, that's irrelevant. That's a waste of their time. You call in, you give them ideas. And if it goes well, you come to the lunch stand-up with your team internally and you're like, how I connected with Craig. Here's how I got my second meeting. And the sharing of those things, which was habitual or whatever, was happening in the office, but it was not a process. It wasn't solidified. Like now it's like, we're going to do that 5 times a week. And every day it's at, 12:30 Eastern, and come if you can, because we're going to share some stuff that's going to help you.
Yeah. Sorry. That's a great, so we're talking about how we engage with our friends. The stand-up sounds basic. It's everything. And if you're not, you're just doing a bad thing. I mean, Dan, like the sales analyst was telling me, he met one that was doing morning, lunch, and afternoon. And you know what I was thinking? I'm like, man, when they were in the office, they'd be like, ugh. Now they love it. And they trade stories. Yeah, they're bringing tribal knowledge back. Yes. And letting peers coach each other up. Totally. It's incredible. The happy hours, sending them lunch with DoorDash and eating lunch together. It totally. And that's like such an easy thing to go do. And you should totally go do that. Minimum 5 a week. You can do close of the day too. What's the one thing we learned today? Let's listen to this call. And bring those things back to each other. I mean, I think the other thing that we've mentioned here is the learning from the market is happening fast. So at TOPO, we call it the newsroom, right? You've got people on the front lines. You got to send that information back into the newsroom, which gets disseminated, because we're learning about our buyers every second, right? The game changes every hour right now. So chaotic, but verbally is better. Like if you are in the stand-up, you say, well, I heard this from a particular buyer. That's so valuable to talk about, because you can't just learn about the message. You can't just learn about the tactics. Right now, we got to learn about what's happening in the market.
I think,
and that's awesome.
You know, I know you got to jump, but like the posting just the story in Slack or sending the email out, like it's not enough. Like it's just getting breezed through. There's too much stuff happening. Like having that discussion, and you know, if people take away one thing, it's that end of the day, why did this go well? What was the one thing I learned? And being able to actually have a conversation and not just like well, I posted in Slack that it worked. Like that's gone. There's a million Slack messages in these big orgs.
Yeah. I'll just say this one thing. We didn't record this, but I will tell the world this. And if you're a sales rep and sales manager, you know what the first thing Brian asked? So the first thing he said, well, how's it going? But the second thing is he said, well, what are you seeing out there? And if you think about your buyer and what they want to go talk about, they want to know, what are you seeing out there? And if you can deliver that, I think that's really powerful. The second thing I'd mention is people want ideas. So one of the issues with pain-based selling is you're trying to identify a way for your solution so you can sell stuff. They don't just want that. They want an idea. So what you're doing right now is, I have some ideas on how you can coach. Those are the ideas people want, right? And so if you think about things, as you think about how you engage with people, you know, a sales rep said, well, you know, we'll find out what keeps them awake at night. I said, I can tell you what keeps them awake at night before you start. They want to know, what can you tell them that's different that might help them? And you know, those two things are really powerful ideas, right? I mean, put together, right? You know, you said, well, what are you seeing out there? And what are the, you know, and merge that with ideas. Everyone can be powerful. Marketing, SDR, sales, etc. To get there, though, as you said, we have to learn from each other, and we have to learn fast.
That's how you making as a manager, as a leader, making your reps a trusted advisor, where they're confident enough to tell someone who they're trying to sell something to, here's what I know because I talk to more smart people like you, or here's what I've seen because I talk to smart people. Like that's big. That's really big.
It's huge.
Greg, we'll leave it there, man. This has been great. I appreciate it. You have probably one of the best Twitter feeds out there. Where can people find you? And you know,
we have the best Twitter feed. How dare you? That was the setup. You just wanted me to say it because everyone, my Twitter feed is @funnelholic.
Thank you.
Hey, but Brian's Twitter feed is amazing. We follow each other. I get him on Saturdays on some like or retweet all the time. But I would say topohq.com. You know, the blog, our VP of Marketing, Kevin O'Malley, has been taking stuff that's behind the paywall and giving value to people there. That's a good place because, you know, I got this big analyst team. They're doing a lot of amazing things as people reinvent. And I think that's a good place to go.
That's perfect. And to your point, why people should look at it, it is changing incredibly fast. And it's a wild ride right now. So, Craig, thank you so much for joining. Please check out Craig, Funnelholic, and topohq.com. And hey, I appreciate you joining.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.